What's up, Home Slices? It's Kiara with Home Slice Adulting, and I'm coming to you with my review for Love and Hip Hop Hollywood Season 4, Episode 5. I want to really pat myself on the back first for actually keeping up with these reviews as much as I said I was going to, but today was the first day of school. This is my last semester, getting my bachelor's degree in business, and this will be the real challenge, keeping up with school, work, and my YouTube channel. So y'all say a little prayer for me. But anyways, let's get started with this review. We'll start with the whole situation with Chanel West Coast and Hazel E. And so first off, we see Hazel E with her kindergarten boyfriend, and he's throwing a little hissy fit because she is focused on her career and not really his. So a couple of red flags go up. First off, he's much younger than her. Second off, it seems like he's in this relationship with her so that he can further his career. So that's not good. And third, it's very interesting to see how when the tables are turned and when a man is with a woman who can help his career, how it's basically the same game. It's just the shoe is on the other foot. That's real interesting that he has all of these feelings of being last on her list of priorities. And she basically keeps throwing in his face, well, when I'm paying the bills, I get to choose what my priorities are. It's very interesting when the shoe's on the other foot. But anyways, so we saw that previously Safaree had hooked up Chanel West Coast, or had wanted to hook up Chanel West Coast with Hazel E, so that I don't know what Girl Code Inc. is. Is it a production company? What exactly is it? What does it do? And we are seeing here that they produce videos, so then maybe they are a production company. But anyways, so we get a situation where there's already something going wrong when they had their first little sit down. Chanel West Coast and Hazel E just are not really meshing all that well. Chanel, I will say, was a little bit more nice and accommodating about it than Hazel E was. Hazel E came off as judgmental almost right away. And so we could tell that there was a little tension between them, but Chanel, not wanting to be disrespectful to Safaree and, you know, of course wanting to advance her career, she decided to work with Girl Code Inc. And I think after this episode, I've decided that Hazel E, despite having a company called Girl Code Inc., actually cannot successfully maintain relationships with women. Or men, for that case. So she just doesn't have good people skills. But anyways, it comes time for the photo shoot, and Chanel finally shows up, and Chanel is basically saying that this is unprofessional because I didn't get a treatment. I'm just gonna have to assume what a treatment is. But yeah, so she didn't get a treatment. I'm not gonna learn an 8 count at the last minute. They're going through a little run through, and everything that Hazel E wanted to do for the shoot, Chanel was kind of like, no, I ain't doing that. And so that causes an issue clearly, and they get into an argument and they almost fight. And then, funniest thing ever, I actually had to pause the TV because I was laughing. Just like that, she gets the production company to switch gears and play one of her songs so she could take advantage of this set, since Chanel West Coast is not. And so Chanel was like, in what world does that happen? Does she set up production for me to do my own video, and then 2 seconds later she knows the choreography to all of the dance steps, so this can be her video now? It's funny, but it's very cost effective, I will say, you know, in Hazel E's defense. And from the way I see it, she already had the idea and the stuff set up to do her own video shoot, and that she was allowing Chanel West Coast to do it so she could bring some money in, you know. But it's funny. I think Chanel and Hazel E had some points where they weren't doing the right thing as far as professional relationships go, but I think Hazel E is definitely more at fault. But yeah, that was funny to me. Okay, next we'll move on to this situation with Nia, Moniece, Cisco, and Tierra. And so we see Moniece and Nia roll up on Cisco, and it's like, how do people pop up on these other people while A1 is there? It's the same thing that Brooke Valentine did to Marcus Black. A1 was there, and A1 basically has to get out of the way so they can have this conversation. But they're like, basically, Tierra needs more help. Why are you taking her to detox? Basically, you're treating the symptoms and not the actual issue. And so, he does his manipulative thing, and he's like, you guys are talking about helping her. I'm actually helping her. That's the way he saw it in his mind. But in their minds, they're like, well, there's more work we need to do because Tierra's problem is deeper than going to a hangover spa, going to a detox medi spa. And, yeah, that blows up, and Moniece gets emotional because apparently somebody has some type of substance addiction in her family, and her family's getting torn apart because of it, or they were previously torn apart because of it. So Moniece just got very upset about it, and eventually ended up feeling like I was so stupid to actually have trusted him with my thoughts and feelings on Tierra. And so later on we see, let me see what part I want to go to next. Later on, we see Sisqó talking to Tierra. They're in the studio and she's singing and she sounds okay. I was never a huge fan of her music. I always thought that she was talented, but I wasn't a huge fan. Anyways, so she's singing, they're in the studio, and Sisqó has something on his face, like something's wrong, and she's like, what was wrong? And he's like, to me, he twists the story, but again, he's a manipulator. So he's like, well, your friends came to me and they were concerned that you're drinking too much. And yeah. And that wasn't the extent of the conversation. And so Tierra's trying to get more information out of him, and like manipulators do, he flips it on Tierra and he's like, of course I defended you. Why would you even ask me that? Why do I have to answer about how the conversation transpired? If you bring something to me like that, I'm gonna want to know every detail. So I mean, if typically in those situations, if you have a substance abuse problem, you typically get defensive when people call you out on your substance abuse problem. So they get into a little argument. I will say that Sisqó did get a little aggressive, and he was like, come here, girl. And security had to stand between them. So eventually he told her more while security was standing in between them. They want to do an intervention on you. They feel like your drinking problem is beyond the point of me taking you to a detox center. And Tierra Marie leaves, being upset at both Moniece, Nia, and Sisqó. So she pulls up at Moniece's new house, and Nia is already there, and she's like, where do you guys get off talking about me behind my back? And so they, you know, talk to her about it and say, we went to Sisqó because we were planning on doing something for you because you need more help than just going to a detox spa. And it comes to the point where Tierra is basically like, I don't have any friends, and I'm super defensive because you guys are talking about me behind my back instead of coming to me as concerned friends and saying, hey, we're worried about you. You guys are planning to ambush me with an intervention for a problem that I don't have. So Tierra was real upset about that, and Moniece got to the point where she was kind of done with it, and she's like, you know, Sisqó's out of here. And sure enough, Sisqó's on his way out of here, because later we see him with some girl named Amber. I can't remember her last name. She's a pretty girl, and me and my boyfriend were watching this together. So as I was watching it, I was like, when they got to the point where he had handed the person the lingerie in the bathroom, I was like, the way he's talking as if he and Tierra Marie are already kind of over. And I'm like, that's not Tierra Marie. And he was like, my boyfriend was like, yeah, of course it's Tierra Marie. And when the girl came out, I was like, does that look like Tierra Marie to you? And definitely was not Tierra Marie in that lingerie. And so the girl Amber came out. Apparently they've been friends for a while, and she's to the point where she's asking Sisqó, do you love me? And he's like, I'm not there yet. But this is an issue for me because as far as I know, from the way that we have seen him and Tierra interact, they're actually in a relationship. So clearly this is an issue. If you really care about somebody to the point where you're taking their sobriety into your own hands, this is not something that you do just because you and her friends got into a little scuffle. When you really care about somebody, you learn to see past that. But because he's manipulative and he has to have a bunch of irons in the fire, clearly, he is seeing this other girl, and eventually that will come to a head, so we can look forward to that. And it's like Cisco shouldn't be having his own storylines on a totally different franchise of Love and Hip Hop. He's supposed to be a little addition to be sprinkled on top of Tiara's storyline, and not have his own little side storyline with his side piece. But anyway, let me tell y'all, when I first started my channel and I first started doing reviews, I said that I was going to do reviews as if everything in the show was basically real. We're not going to talk about how staged it seemed or anything like that. We're just going to take for face value that it's real, even though we really know that a lot of these situations are staged. And typically I have held up to that, and pretending that everything on this show happens naturally and is not contrived in some kind of way. But I have to say something this time, because there's virtually no way that Keyshia Cole was hanging out with Masika and Nia before this scene at the pool. Anyways, anything to tie people's storylines together to make this seem like these people are actually friends and these people actually hang out. But anyway, they're having a rest day, a massage day, a spa day, whatever you want to call it. They talk about Tiara, they talk about Keyshia Cole's music. And Masika talks about the situation with Zell, and I like that Keyshia kind of stays out of things, that she shows a level of maturity that Love and Hip Hop has been missing, because even last season the mamas that are probably in their 50s and 60s were acting a fool, so somebody has to be the adult, and apparently it's Keyshia Cole. So anyways, so they have that little talk or whatever. Yeah, we see A1 in the studio with Keyshia Cole, and what ended up happening was he had scheduled a session with Lyrica to work on her album, and he canceled that to work with Keyshia Cole. So that was his mistake in this whole situation and being found out. But I think everybody was going a little bit hard. Other people who do reviews were going a little bit hard on Lyrica for not for being a little too hell-bent, I guess, on him not working with other female artists. And so we see in this episode why she's so upset about it. And even though I was on her side, I'm even more on her side now. But after today, I was like, you know what, I was right to, you know, back her up in her feelings about A1, making sure that she's A1 in his book. And so she shows up and Keyshia Cole is there, and she's like, oh, hey, Keyshia. I mean, and you can see that she was not mad that Keyshia was there and that she is happy for her husband's success. But Keyshia Cole, being the wise one on the show, sensed that there was some tension after Lyrica was like, you know, it would have been nice to be invited to write, because Keyshia Cole was like, oh, you gonna write on my song, girl? You know, you're a talented writer and whatnot, writing for Beyonce and whatnot, so if you're gonna write on my stuff. And so Lyrica was like, you know, sure, if I was invited. Shade. And so Keyshia Cole was like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here, I have something to do. And so it's just Lyrica and A1, and Lyrica was very funny to me at the beginning, and she was like, oh, Keyshia Cole is really nice to you. You guys seem to, you know, really click, even though a month ago you were saying you were surprised she knew your name. So Lyrica is, you know, her antennas are picking up that this is not the first time that he has been in conversation with Keyshia Cole about working with her. So she decides that he's being sneaky and being deceptive. And see, that's the only issue. She understood that it was Keyshia Cole and that it was bringing a check into their home, but what she did not understand is why he kept it from her. And that's the thing about when you are married. If your careers and your lives are so intertwined like that, you keeping out a major detail is marital deception. And so that's why she felt, you know, upset, because she was deceived by him. He was doing things sneakily. And then she was like, I understand this is going to bring a check into the house, but what's wrong with 2 checks? And I was like, you know what, you got him on that. Because the way she saw it is I was with you in the trenches when nobody wanted to listen to your music, when you were not writing music at the time. I put you in the right places so that you can be where you are today. You and I And he admitted that my career would not be where it is without Lyrica. And she was saying that while you and I were together, I couldn't sleep my way to the top. So I had to work twice as hard to get to where I got, so that you can be where you are now. And so she was real upset, and she was like, F you, and I'm getting out of here. And finally she calmed down and she came back, and he apologized, and I think he finally understood where she was coming from. And it was real nice to see them get over it real quick, because some married people let things stew, and it, you know, is a big boiling mess by the time it's all over with. So it was good to see them get over it. So finally, we're going to talk about Mr. Ray, Zell, and Masika. And so, you know, we talked about earlier, Masika got some advice involving Zell and all those things. And again, Masika is still mad at Mr. Ray for not being professional, and that she expected Zell to cut up because he is the type of person that cuts up, but Mr. Ray should have been professional. And I think that it's equally their fault. You shouldn't be more mad at one than the other. But anyways, so Mr. Ray pops out of nowhere during Moniece's lesbian dinner, and what's up with all the kindergarten lesbian talk with the cootie cakes? And I wasn't here for that, but when Mr. Ray came out of nowhere, I had to pause the TV to stop laughing, because they actually kind of looked like they were genuinely surprised that he was there. And it was just so funny the way he sat down at the table and was like, hey guys, I need to talk to you about this, and that. And he was explaining how it was upsetting, and he was like, oh, Zell got on the tables and he was dressed like a fisherman. And then Moniece was like, well, he baited you and he's reeled you in and you fell for it. And AD was like, you know, she's right. And so Mr. Ray had to basically kind of admit that he got sucked into Zell's drama. And so Moniece gave away a little detail about them getting their nails done the next day. And so we see them the next day, Zell and Masika getting their pedicures done, and they're having a discussion. And, you know, Masika's not ready to hug Zell. And Zell's telling her, well, you know, I thought you were extending the olive branch since I got an invitation. And she's like, well, that was Mr. Ray's idea. And he seemed genuinely surprised by that. And he was like, well, I thought it was you extending the olive branch. And I was happy that, you know, we were talking again or whatever. And so that surprised him. And so as soon as Masika says that you and, you know, Mr. Ray don't need to be in the same room anymore, here comes Mr. Ray coming in the same room with Masika and Zell. So Mr. Ray said that he was going to go there calm and collected and have a conversation with them, but he was on fire as soon as he got there. And he was like, you know, I'm just here to talk to you guys about the situation. And he was like, I see that you're rescuing people from the Humane Society. And Zell was like, oh, well, what kind of animal am I? And he's like, well, the way you hopped on the table was more like a Tasmanian devil. And like a Tasmanian devil, Zell hopped up and I don't know what happened, knocked over some stuff. But at the end of the day, Zell was face down on the ground while Mr. Ray was still standing up. Mr. Ray does not come off as a fighter to me, so I think that he was like low-key scared, but whatever. So it was, they finally got Zell out of there. Zell actually was bleeding. It looked like he had like a gash in his leg, and it may have been from him getting up too fast at the pedicure station. Maybe something hit his leg when he got up from there, but maybe he fell because his feet were still wet. It's not funny, but it's funny. Anyways, Mr. Ray was outside. He was like, you can catch the fade outside. And I'm like, Mr. Ray, you don't come off to me as a fighter. So I think he was just putting on. But y'all, I was thoroughly entertained yet again with this show, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Next time we have a situation with AD and Moniece. Apparently AD has another black girl in her life, maybe an ex or something like that. I don't know, who is not very fond of Moniece because Moniece ain't a real lesbian apparently. I don't know. What else we got coming up next? We have another conversation with Mr. Ray and Zell. Apparently there's some relationship drama in there because Zell is all up in Mr. Ray's boyfriend's DMs and whatnot. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everyone who has been subscribing, who has been keeping up and viewing my channel. It's still a very small channel, but I really appreciate any of the support that I can get. Thank you guys, and peace out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, home slices.